understanding what JDG wanted to do throughout this series.
Yeah, just a lot more pressure on the sidelines for Camille to make it difficult for JDG to consistently rotate to Dragon to set up and get the free poke. Also, just constantly having Kanavi's number, matching him either with, Forge or with Xiaohao out and taking the Lee Sin into the Nidalee matchup, which is usually you just get out cleared by the Nidalee, but if you get into a skirmish, you can definitely outplay that in an even situation, and that's a lot of what we saw, the 2v2s constantly being outplayed as we go into game 3, so I'm gonna already hyper-focus on the mid-jungle and see what happens here. Should be an advantage early on for JDG, as long as they aren't engaged through Rek'Sai in the jungle. It looks like there's not really going to be an opportunity to do that, but something to look out for as we load in, just because they do have that Akali in the mid lane, and they do have the Leona, whose level 1 isn't that strong unless you're walking directly into it.
And I think the important part is that, for anyone's legend, one of the key conditions we talked about is Betty getting that Jinx. Jinx was such a big pick and has been such a big pick for Betty, but not only that, for both AD carries. So JG once again leaving that open. It was first picked away by anyone's legend. Another big point that 369 was given over the Jayce, but this time around, ZDZ wants to match it with the Viktor, the Graves. And you talked a lot about jungle mid 2v2. This time around, Yagao on something pretty solid, but Forge on the Akali. I'm curious to see how we go here, Kelsey, because Xiaohao on his Lee Sin, it's going to require quite a lot to make sure Forge gets through it. Okay, just had a massive jump in the screen. Not sure what happened there, but hey, missing with a fake dredge line, and it's going to hit a wall. And the invade turns sour. So we stop there, and as we return to Summoner's Rift, of what I can assume is a real time, I want you to walk me through a little bit again about what you expect to see out of anyone's Legend 2v2, because it's obviously a lot more interesting.
Yeah, their 2v2 isn't really going to come out online until the level 6 when Forge gets the full combo. Yagao should have that portion of the laning phase until basically 5:30 to 6 minutes, just to kind of bully and deny Forge a little bit. I don't think it'll amount to a whole lot because, again, I don't really know if we've seen a lot of Victors play these matchups very aggressively, and Yagao isn't particularly known for his laning. Plus, it'll be pretty difficult for Kanavi to get a dive off if Forge is able to use the W very intelligently in terms of making sure that he's not targetable under those situations.
Good point. Kanavi is starting in the bottom side now, however, and Xiaohao is moving his way down, so opposite sides of the junglers, and we talked in game 1 about JDG's intelligent warding. This time around, no wards placed in the enemy jungle, didn't spot out what was happening there. But for anyone's legend, a ward on the Raptor camp, so they're going to see Kanavi pathing up towards the top side, giving ZDZ a bit of an idea of how JDG want to play this one.
And we do see some junglers just kind of bypass the Raptors not to give that extra information out, so I'm wondering if Kanavi's going to do that here and just walk kind of the long way to his red buff. But we're going to see here, yeah, looks like he will be spotted.
Yep.
And just go ahead and do the clear as well.
As we just
in terms of this top lane matchup, though,
please.
I was just going to say that while ZDZ should be able to get shoved in a lot of scenarios, it's very easy for 369 to trade HP, basically, and win out in those trade scenarios to make sure that the wave doesn't crash, and to put ZDZ in a kind of awkward position overall. But he will get the first recall off, well, not even recall, just going to ward. Maybe we'll see like a cheeky little mid lane play here.
Kanavi going to spot him out, though. You can see Tremor Sense got him in the pixel brush. Tremor Sense knows he's there. Kanavi kind of playing dumb, but as ZDZ gets spotted out, it looks like it will just be for the scuttle. So top laner backs away, 369, spends time in the wave. I'm curious if this opens things up for ZDZ with the right timing, but unfortunately half a second delayed. Kanavi pushing him back, and this is kind of nice from JDG. The top side continues to be their priority.
Yeah, and with the mid-prime going the way it is, there was even an opportunity for maybe Kanavi to try to deny a little bit of the wave, make it difficult for ZDZ to catch that and threaten maybe a 3-man. But if he does do that, he's probably going to fall a little bit behind on his clear. So just choosing to go get the Krugs, look for a recall, and not be in a position where he's having to fight a Lee Sin who's already backed and gotten another component of his item.
Big Axe is going to be the first buy here. He's going to pass towards top side, and There was ward placed by Kanavi when he went deep against ADC, so Xiaohao will be spotted when he moves up. Kanavi finally makes that back off as well for a double longsword, so a bit of extra power here coming through from Xiaohao. As it seems like he wants to shadow the potential dive or the potential build-up of a dive for JDG top. As let's ignore bot. It is against Leona. No damage done for now. I'm more curious in what happens top. He's actually all winning. Oh no. Oh no, flashes away. 369's taking 2 turret shots as well. Sonic Wave won't be able to connect through the minion wave, but 369 wanted to be a little bit greedy, and he gets punished for it.
Yeah, just not anticipating the Lee Sin being there, which is a little odd, because if you're understanding basic jungle pathing, Lee Sin should be heading back topside around 4 minutes.
Yep.
Be in that jungle on the camp, so if you're choosing that time to turret dive, you're basically flipping it in terms of in an unfavorable way. You know, the coin is kind of stacked against you, weighted the opposite side of where you want it to be, but as a result, because they know where he is, it looks like Kanavi might just try to pick up this dragon for free.
Okay.
Looking for the Drake stacking win condition again.
If you're telling me 369 might flip it, I don't know. That doesn't sound like 369. That doesn't sound like an ex-top esports player. No way. JDG's top laner at least having a lead. Dragon, you mentioned, going down as a response. And this early gold lead actually pivoting in their favor while Xiaohao is going to start taking some jungle camps away. The control ward in the brush and Kanavi actually going to spot him out. Premise sensors get him, and you can see that Yagao should be moving up, but I want to point out Yagao in the opening series of LPL has been really slow to rotate, so no surprise that he's not going to move anywhere near it, and Kanavi just going to pick up the scraps of a camp stolen by the enemy Lee Sin.
Yeah, so wasting a little bit of time, but gets the big chicken, so overall not too bad, especially since his camps are not quite up, and should get the top scuttle for his troubles as well, considering Leona has to rotate back to bot lane.
So, Kelsey, my question for you as Rek'Sai somehow lollipops over that wall. My question to you is how JDG, you know, continue playing out this game, right? Top side, we can see that it's double summoners burn. Are we just going to continue looking for dives, top lane, set up for Herald? Is it just going to be about solo laners for JDG once again?
So in this particular case, it is a little bit more about solo laners, but here we have the Aphelios versus Jinx matchup. We have very short range composition overall for anyone's legend, so I would say that Akali is going to be in a better position overall to answer the likes of the Jayce, basically. So in that situation, you're more willing to take these fights and choke points and try to get anyone's legend to commit into you and have basically your Rek'Sai off in the corner to make it difficult for Betty to step up, look for those flank angles, get the vision from the sidelines. But still, generally speaking, I think both teams want a fight of some kind. And Aphelios is just wants to be more accelerated. So putting more of the win con on Hope in this particular case, making sure that he can stack up those confirms for major fights. And if ZVZ walks in, face checks, Xiaohao walks in, Leona walks in, they can very easily get shredded.
And I feel like as well, you know, we saw Hope as, ironically enough, he was a bit of the Hope in that game number 2, but it was only one pick in the bottom side fight that we saw, and then after that, JDG continued getting obliterated. So here in this early game, I Hope in a decent position. He's got a Noon Quiver now picked up versus the Cull and Longsword from Betty, but Betty's now backing. That should be a Noon Quiver as a response to the match. Instead, Berserker Greaves, double Longsword. Small CS lead to be noted here from Hope, but I think as well as Herald and Dragon now both up and available. Excuse me, JG picked up the first Dragon. I'm completely blind. Herald is up though, Kelsey, and anyone's legend are on it first. Kanavi completely disregarding it.
Yeah, I think this is one of those situations. I try to sometimes question if it's okay to give the Rift. I don't think they will. This is LPL, and we have to fight Rift outs. I think it's probably in their contract somewhere. But,
they've actually just jumped in. Xiaohao's ulti. Okay, well, anyone's legend have picked up the Herald, and Kanavi a bit slow to the party, so they want to fight, but after the fact, well, Betty just gets to sit in the bottom lane, and Hope actually moved up for this.
Yeah, Hope moved up for this, but it was on a window where he's not necessarily going to lose anything. It's not like Betty's going to grab a plate. As I was saying, since this has been kind of a slow early game, This is a situation where the Rip Herald isn't necessarily super high value because you have a lot of wave clear pretty much on all of the JDG lanes, so anyone's Legend picking it up, not necessarily guaranteed more than a couple of plates, right? Which is still pretty high value, but if you can get a trade-off in a bot lane dive or anything else, you could probably neutralize this, right? So generally speaking, I don't even know if Rip Herald is that high value this game for anyone's Legend to pick up, but it is nice to have in their back pocket, considering they got it more or less for free.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Kanavi came in after the fact, and there's only a kick from Xiaohao that got them the Herald in the end, so it cost practically nothing. So anyone's Legend will keep scanning those lanes, see where the window opens up, because you raise a really good point with the wave clear coming through. Both these solo lanes especially always pushed up against this turret, and right now 369 having a great time against CDZ. He's farming the Gromp, and he's unfortunately going to be losing turret plays while he's doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's just there isn't necessarily vision on where Kanavi is, right? The complete and utter control on the top side from JDG with the pink wards that we've seen, particularly, or rather as they are now colloquially termed, the control wards. And then just very easy full river control basically for JDG on both sides because of the fact that at this point in the game, Forge isn't too strong, isn't really able to fight back without pressure from the jungle at the very least.
Glad you bring up vision. I mean, yeah, it's littered red for JDG's. Kanavi makes his entrance in. Xiaohao is going to be spotted out. Kanavi solar flare down with shield break, does nothing, and even missing, getting blown up as Hope wants to bring it all back though. Look at the chakrams at the ready, but now that Forge is nearby, they have to back off further. JDG knew that Xiaohao were there, but it was just unlucky window for Kanavi.
Yeah, I think definitely just in terms of how that skirmish played out, perhaps we'll get a replay, but you could see that maybe going the opposite way, considering that Chocho invaded, and particularly because Hope, I believe, did already have the chakrams in that scenario. So that fight could have gone a bit differently. It's just that anyone's Legend won out.
I'm just so surprised. Like, you know, Kanavi's been pretty smart with his pathing this game, and we'll watch again because it's like, okay, play, okay, now disappear, and yeah, Chocho just makes the engage. On this Leona, I feel like Chocho's styling.
Yeah, and it's a little bit unfortunate, right, that not only did Chocho manage to get the engage, but basically both Missing and Kanavi were grouped up for the Jinx.
Oh no. Well, Akali things flash forward, Forge with a 5-point strike. It's close. Now Yagao wants to bring it back. Hailstorm gets the gravity field, and for 369, that's a bit of burst damage to add in suit. JDG have 3 members versus 2. ZDC joining in as well. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Hope wants to make this dive alongside Missing. Betty is outside turret range. Ignited down. And in a quick instant, JDG with 2 big kills across the map.
Yeah, JDG knowing that Chocho isn't available there, taking the opportunity, and knowing where both junglers are, taking the opportunity to zone off of the turret. And Kanavi getting out with a sliver of HP, Forge overextending for him. Suddenly things are coming up JDG.
Oh, no, how that quick changed so quickly. It's almost a 3k gold lead for Jingdong Gaming. Turret plating at the bottom side was huge as well. Yagao picked up a crown, and now it's the gank on the Xiaohao. Pokes his head in the jungle, and Kanavi was waiting. ZDZ wants to take him though as the Herald charges in for end of the line, and ZDZ with his ulti tries to burn him down, but he's taking a turret shot. 369 doesn't care if he's avoided it now, as the hammer will fly through a blast cone, but Yagao waiting. And with Forge joining in as well, Missing's on top of him into the shroud, slowed down with Riptide. All you need is a good dredge line and a lockdown, and anyone's Legend, it's just gone to poo.
I don't know if, you know, that was just kind of a one-by-one assembly line into the JDG gold bank situation there. They felt pressured to help their friends, but ended up just going to their deaths one at a time as a result. We did get to see, this is going to be the earlier replay. The knockup was very crucial there, and then Forge not able to get the follow-up from the flash and the ultimate combo. Just, you hate to see it. Behind enemy lines, goes down. But the 2 very clutch knockups we'll probably see the next one after this have come out of Kanavi, just both to interrupt the Lee Sin engage and to get the Akali in great positioning there. So that's kind of been the big difference in these last two skirmishes.
Yeah, I think as well when Kanavi was caught out on the bottom side, like, this is a good little retribution for him. This is the jungler who, again, in this series has been either stellar or been outclassed. In game number 2, he was outclassed by Xiaohao, but here in this game on the Rek'Sai once again, 10 CS lead, the knockups you mentioned in the top side Kelsey were beautiful, and for 369, he's now set ahead. Yagao as well, benefiting off the back end of that play. He's got a crown of the Shattered Queen. JDG, almost 4,000 gold in the lead at 14 minutes. I don't know what happened in the last 3 minutes, but so much gold was given over by anyone's legend.
Oh, poor ZDZ. They're starting to camp him at his tier 2 now.
Oh,
that's,
yeah. That's rough, isn't it? I mean, ZDZ fighting back. I don't know. So what do you do here? Because anyone's legend, their solo lane of Graves right now down 20 CS. The bottom lane Jinx that we've been talking about all series long. I mean, Hope is going to be stronger now with this second turret falling before anyone's legend even get one.
Yeah, and I think it's fine to just kind of stall out this Rift Herald while Aphelios is getting the turret hold coming through there, rather than immediately start it off. Again, it's at this point in the game, Rift Herald doesn't even feel that strong because they have failed to take any tier 1s, so you're not going to get T2 gold. No plates are still up, so way more worth for Aphelios to get that rotation, see if you can stall out the Rift Herald take and look for another fight.
Well, you're going to have to hope here for a good kick from Xiaohao. Betty getting a bit of space as well. At this point, JDG are going to start it up, deny the objective goal. And in 25 seconds as well, we've got the third dragon of the game coming through. JDG with decent enough health bars, walking down, even threatening the mid turret on the way through. It feels like this should be theirs to take as well as Betty getting the full front of 369's first.
Unfortunately, we see Forge in the side lane here, so Hope feeling a little bit, frisky, able to walk up here, not too afraid of something like an Akali flank coming through, and they just grab the T1.
Well, there goes all of them. 3 turrets taken down the map, wide open when JDG, you've been complimenting their vision control in this series. When all those tier 1s are down as well, that intelligent vision going to be right back up and available. And it feels like anyone's legend going to be tracked through all parts of their jungle.
Yep, and one of the things that I've really enjoyed about JDG so far is just kind of how willing they are to constantly move the vision line aggressively and missing, potentially getting caught out.
Yeah, he solo water, but Betty's exploded, and it was just, he decided to go that extra mile for the vision we talk about.
Yeah, okay. It's a bit of a song moment, if you will.
Maybe worth. Worth for the reputation.
But now but now that basically JDG committed these members to get that, they are trading eventually anyone's legend's first turret of the game coming through here.
Objective bounty as well.
It's going to be some much needed gold injection for ZDZ, who's been behind most of the game, but has the tabbies, has the shield bow versus the eclipse from Jayce, and might do a little bit better, can't get pushed out of the sideline.
We'll have a look because I think in the moment, we're just going to look at Missing once again, who on this Nautilus second time in a row hasn't been as great. Been kind of rough here, not like the Time Kench game we started off with. And for JDG, I'm glad you brought up the turret on the top side because gold has shrunk a little bit. 3,500 is all they lead by at this point. They've got 2 dragons under their belt, which happens to be an Infernal Soul game. And now I'm curious as to how they can push this a little bit further, right? Because, Kelsey, we've got a 2-item Jayce. 369 once again in control. This time, Yagao off to a more flying start. Pick Central and Poke Central continues to be the mantra for JDG in this third and final game.
I appreciate that despite 369 not having as strong of a performance in the last game, that they're staying committed to his iconic champion pick, right? It's definitely been one of his most comfortable champions historically, and consistently seeing why in this game and in the first game of the series.
I think the 369 always strikes me as that player who will go with these volatile picks. They can fall flat, do nothing, or almost carry games. Game 1, he carried games. He carried the first game easily when he was a 1 or 2 kill Jayce. It didn't have the scoreline, but definitely had the damage portfolio to fit. And that's what JDG are looking for here in this final game of the night of their series. For anyone's legend, now grouping up towards bottom side river. There's no dragon here, but trying to clear out some of the vision that JDG have set up nice and early. Weirdly enough, 30 seconds before Baron spawn.
Yep, and the nice thing here though is keeping in mind that because of how ahead on the map Jayce is, right? They put all of that shallow vision down for anyone's legend to retake. If they crash this to T2, they can immediately start transferring that vision and then create a situation where when the dragon comes up, anyone's legend is constantly in the position of retake. And because Jayce is now so far ahead on the map, they see multiple members of anyone's legend here. You're in a position where you're threatening a T2 potentially compared to just having a T1 on offer on the bot side for anyone.
And committing, more than one member as well. ZDZ struggling against 369, Forge going up, and as the wave crashes in, JDG are right on top of that objective a minute 30 before it spawns. Side waves continue being pushed up, and I also want to note that Yagao has a Lich Bane here. Another serrated Dirk on 369 as well. That's very strong solo laners. In comparison, when Forge just got the Rocket Belt and a stopwatch to add to his inventory.
We've talked a lot about, the threat that Hope can have, how Kanavi is playing these skirmishes, and 369 being accelerated, but Yagao is Viktor in these fights. If you're a short-range Graves or an Akali, you don't necessarily want to commit into the gravity field with the Chaos Storm. That's going to do a lot of damage to you, especially considering that Viktor does have the crown, so any all-in is going to be,
Speaking of which, Mystic starting this one again with a shock blast onto 2 members. Anyone's legend this time been baited in. Missing might die, but look, the Chaos Storm on top of Chocho. JDG waiting over the wall as he comes out of stasis. 369's waiting. And for JDG, 4 versus 4, both supports down. But the health bar's a little bit healthier on JDG.
Yep, and that's another instance of the support committing into the gravity storm, the gravity field and the Chaos Storm. It's almost as if I knew it was going to happen in the next 30 seconds. All right, there we go.
Well, that choke you talked about for JDG, yeah, as easy as that, apparently, coming into fruition in the next 30 seconds. So, nicely done there from this team on the red side as they move towards Dragon. This will be sole point. I like that anyone's legend know they can't pick this up. They're going to go topside, D-ward Baron a little bit, because that seems to be the next objective we'll be talking about.
I think when people talk about getting a pick off before a neutral, there's a lot of emphasis on, we got the carry or we got the jungler, but if you get the support, they don't really have any means of contesting the setup.
True.
So basically you always want your support to be resetting ahead of your team on that map to secure the area, to allow it to place wards in a creative or more aggressive location. So that's going to mean the Dragon's going over to JDG just as easily as if Xiaohao was the one who died there.
And let's be realistic about this series. Support's been everything, as that's a great kick. Hope goes back in though, dies to the solar flare. And that's why support's been big here in this series. Chocho cleans it up as Xiaohao with the hero play on Hope. That was an attempt that I respect it.
And I think I definitely have been enjoying Chocho's performance in the series overall. I think the first game, not as strong, but it's nice to see this decisiveness coming out of him because I don't know if you know a little bit of Chocho's history, but when he was on an 80 carry, he had the longest loss streak in the LPL on Top Sports. Not the greatest, so when he transitioned over to support, had a little bit more agency in the role. So nice to see that showing up a little bit, even if they aren't necessarily near the top.
Yeah, and like seeing the 1v1 there doesn't end up being anything, but further to that point, I will say that, Chocho was part of the roster that actually promoted top esports into the LPL. When they were TOP, when Chocho was the AD carry, you talk about Cat being the support as well alongside him, who now is a caster on the Chinese side. Kelsey, I'm going to bring us back in though, because Xiaohao had a sick play here, and when anyone's legend are pretty far behind, it's nice to see that Xiaohao is still bringing that aggression.
Yeah, and you will take that trade for sure, taking down the monstrous Hope in exchange for the jungle when no neutrals are up. So good to see them at least getting a bit of that gold back. No more bounty on the AD carry.
Now, the good thing about being sus is to talk about what you want when you want. I have to pause because apparently that's not true. Is Mystic sets up the dredge line instead of going to the dive underneath the turret. Gravity field once again laid down in front of it by Yagao. Xiaohao wants another angle. No flash this time, but Dragon Rage up and available yet again. As JDG, their siege is immense. I mean, 369 even moving in, ready to poke out Betty, all in the name of a tier 2. As he gets down low, JDG still don't know when to go, as they're just going to hover around and stay for the next mid lane wave. They're not leaving.
And even though this composition is more equipped to play the front to back style fight in a short range scenario, they still have quite a bit of long range. Victory, the shock blast from the Jayce, so still really happy with these siege scenarios, but they're going to be more reliant on creeps to get the tower. Don't necessarily have these long range AD.
Well, they've got Hope again. Remember the Hope burning summoners in the last trade as Chocho picks up one up yet again, but he's burnt low as Kanavi in the back line, but kicked away. Ulti comes through. The Predator becomes the prey in the end, as Betty now with reset. Yagao wants to make sure it ends there. JDG, they lose 4 members. 3 left on anyone's legend. They've got 280 carries, Kelsey. They're going to run to Baron.
Yeah. And that's what I was basically just briefly talking about, is that you need to kind of poke them off before you have your AD carry walk up for the siege. And Hope getting flanked on out of position again with the Akali, with the Lee Sin looking for him. They basically can just run at him. When you're in that position, you're definitely mispositioning. So a little bit of an unfortunate play from Hope, or an unfortunate position here. So, okay, nice. Ult coming out from the Leona. Yeah. I wonder if he had the Gale Force there. And good initiation from Chocho. We were kind of celebrating his play a little bit here, finding those ults while Xiaohao was finding the Lee Sin fights. It's a really strong combo here for anyone's legend looking for their comeback.
Also note that Forge, quick little execution on the 369. They actually killed each other in the end, so did his part on the back line, and 369 once again being one of the strongest members. Him down meant anyone's legend were able to pick up this Baron. Kelsey, it's a 1.5k Baron power play for now, but in front of Dragon, I wonder if that gold catch-up was enough for anyone's legend to deny the soul coming up for JDG.
And they should know that where that Forge came from, that bot side angle, right? So a little bit scary for them to walk in here with the Pixel Rush controlled by the pink ward. Nice shot blast, though.
Continue happening, isn't it? Chocho looking for the center blade on top of missing once again. Support v support still important as we head in front of a potential Elder Soul, Infernal Soul for JDG. Forge still not spotted out though until the control ward goes down. And for JDG, it's getting low in front of the Dragon. Kanavi wants to run on in. He steals it. Right. Infernal Soul given over as Chocho burnt down. Super Mega Death Rocket, great, but look at this. Forge jumping into the whole team. The Chaos Storm hits him pretty hard as well. Corrupting Potion ticking, but he'll live with a 2-for-1 trade for Infernal. Secured for JDG. It's not done. Onto ZDZ 369 bopping in, and he'll bop his way up to.
And Infernal Soul's not as strong this season as it was in the past season, so it's not necessarily a death sentence for anyone's legend here in these fights. But definitely when you're thinking about the types of champions that JDG has with the Infernal Soul and the increased damage available, it's the Viktor, right? It's pretty scary. The Aphelios, if you're having a lot of teams that are going to jump in and commit to him. And Infernal Soul Aphelios is definitely nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. Fight again. I think this time around, you know, anyone's legend, you know, starting to show that Forge's got some damage under him as well. Like that Akali's doing a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, Akali doing a lot of work. Definitely capitalizing off of the really nice ult from Betty. Betty's had some very great ults throughout the series in the last 2 games that he's played Jinx, so I can see why Forge got bloodthirsty in that moment and decided to face first into 3 members, especially playing with Akali. It's kind of difficult to punish you with your Shroud up. And stopwatch.
Well, as we return to live, look at what Yagao's doing in the top lane. While Baron power play kind of being pushed to the wayside. Tier 1 in the mid lane still open. 369 reacting to the bottom himself, and JDG actually getting a benefit. Yagao pushing turrets so fast with the Lich Bane and 3 items now complete. So nice from JDG, despite losing the play. They've still got 2,000 gold over anyone's legend at 29 minutes in the game. They've still got the Infernal Soul. And it'll be in front of these next couple of objectives that we get our answer to who takes the series, because right now it feels like the state is more even than I've been letting it on.
Yeah, it's more even, but again, the Infernal Soul definitely does tip it a bit. The fact that you have these all-in committing champions versus Aphelios Viktor definitely tips it a bit, but we are going to have to see JDG be much more thorough and much more careful about how they're setting up for their sieges, right? I think it's way better for them to look for having a Baron, so maybe waiting out the next 3.5 minutes before they're looking for the final siege, just because then you can have Hope positioned way further back, let the basically cannon minion siege for you, and then just continue weighing down the poke with the E and the Jayce shot blast, or the Viktor E and the Jayce shot blast.
And I like that anyone's legend are trying to stop some of this sidelining, building up their members all on one player. Okay, backing away, JDG grouping as well. And for now, as Yagao walks forward into TDZ, JDG will stick around trying to take this tier 2. Soul Play comes in again though from Chocho, a great engagement. Yagao goes gold. Forge on the angle is a concern though, as Missing burns down once again, but the Chaos Storm is shredding anyone's legend. Running on in, Xiaohao tries, but onto Missing, he might die. But will it matter? Yagao runs up to the turret, the next wave inbound, and the Shock Blast starting to hurt more and more. So it's a win for JDG, support for Jungler, while more gold is going to go in their pocket.
And Jojo's been landing those ultimates, generally speaking, onto Hope with no cleanse up. So instead, when he landed one onto Yagao with the Zhonya's available, not as effective as an engage tool, on top of the fact that JDG just have a lot more damage at this point. So if you're committing in, someone's going to go in.
Watch again, because Death Rockets hit 369 this time around, but Yagao stopwatch did a lot in that fight.
Also, Kanavi doing a really good job of kind of standing right by Forge, zoning him out so that he can't get on top of his carries. Very good mindfulness there, understanding his job. At this point in the game, he's not necessarily assassinating anyone. He's looking to play a peel Rek'Sai. Nice adaptation there.
Yeah, and that zoning coming from the fact that we saw Forge, his damage output in the previous fight was pretty big. I think as well that, you know, Forge is hitting that point that all Akali's hit eventually, where 2, 3 items where they're able to shred someone like Hope, especially since he doesn't have Flash or Cleanse available. It's a dangerous position for this AD carry of JDG, one that they have to start respecting with the level 16 Akali on the wing. Playing from angles yet again, spotted out. JDG move around this area, and for now, head towards a Baron that is seemingly only a couple of wards dropped down by anyone's legend. Looks like JDG want to spot it out and clean it up so they can force them towards him.
But of course, one nice thing about Hope now is he does have that stopwatch available, the Bloodthirster shield, right? All of those things going for him makes him a lot more difficult to take down by the Sun Engage from Chocho. So not a straightforward target for either Xiaohao or to assassinate.
Missing starts it again. Sure to flip from Forge onto Missing. It expires. Missing wants another dredge line onto Chocho. Max range. Depth charge into the back as he flashes away. Super Mega Death Rocket can't finish the job as Forge jumps on in, but everyone from JDG grouped up while it is just a sacrificial lamb from Kanavi. Missing surviving once again as the Shock Blast does the rest. 369 all the damn time. The Xiaohao running for the hills. DDZ with a dredge line again. Missing, sacrificing his life. He flashes over, but I think he's just doomed. JDG have all the eggs in their basket as they run it up mid.
And I'm gonna coin the term assassin tank Rek'Sai, because even though he has no tank items, he's effectively serving the purpose of a tank here by creating space, allowing his carries to do a lot of damage from a safe distance, occupying the attention of multiple members with his knockup. So I'm gonna take that one. Not necessarily playing the way he's itemized, but definitely having a huge impact in how those last fights played out.
We needed it. We needed it from JDG as they pick up their 2-1 over anyone's legend. They stop their loss streak, and they make sure that AL have a rougher time heading towards playoffs. For JDG, remember, that was their 9th series, and that puts them win positive, up with top esports, continuing to stay in the top 8. JDG had a bit of a rough time this series. We can be realistic that game 1 was their most dominant.